What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brent, and today we have a 3-light RGB setup, and this is going to be using all constant lights. It's going to be like a dramatic two-tone backdrop type of deal. She's got on the all black, so it's going to be like a dark bottom to the look. This is going to be super cool. I want to give a super huge shout out to Madi for coming back on the channel. She's been on here about 6 times already. We are excited to get into this content, so let's hop right in. So the first light that I'm going to set up in this lighting setup is going to be my key light. My key light, I am going to be using the Nanlite FC300B, so it's just a regular 300 watt bicolor light, and I'm actually going to have a newer Fresnel attachment, a Fresnel as it's spelled, attached to the light. And the reason why I'm using this as opposed to a reflector is just because I am able to get a little more focus by bringing this down to 10 degrees. So I do have it as focused as possible because I want it to be kind of like on the face/shoulder part of my model, and this is in like a Rembrandt position. Now, one thing that I will say, I like to move the light until I'm kind of throwing my model's shadow off of the backdrop. I don't really want it to affect what my RGB lights are doing behind her, so I kind of move this around to where it's throwing off the shadow, so it might not be a perfect Rembrandt position, but that's okay. We can just have our model pose differently to get more of her light on the face. Okay, let's get some test shots here with just the key light on, just to kind of illustrate what it is that our key light is doing. And what you're gonna notice here is that I am going for a pretty much all black background. So when you see these medium shots, we're pretty much going to try and keep this background as black as possible. Get a few close-ups here so you can really see this Fresnel is throwing some nice and intense hard light onto her face. And one of the things that you wanna make sure that you are thinking about when you are doing this is let your model get some blink breaks, because that bad boy is very hot, okay? And it is lighting her up quite well. So the biggest thing here is just making sure that we are getting a dark background and that our face is illuminated properly. I am shooting at f4. ISO is gonna be at 160, and then my shutter speed is 1/125th. The second light for this setup is going to be one of 2 background lights. This is going to be the newer CB300C. I've done multiple videos on this light. I use this light all the time. And this one is going to be casting my warmer tone. So this one is gonna have like a deep red shooting right into the background. I have this one going up probably a little bit higher than my third light is going to be, just because I want that gradient to kind of have like a wonky, weird type of line. It doesn't need to be a clean cut right down the middle gradient. I do have them on opposite sides of the backdrop. And you will notice as we start shooting, I'm using a gray backdrop. You might be wondering why. I'm gonna post a comment on the screen as I'm talking you through this, but someone commented on one of my videos saying that I should try out a gray background for my RGB lights because it might give me more saturation, and I found it to be the case. Could be a placebo, it could be that it's actually working, but I found it to be the case, and it's gonna help to not throw so much return onto my model's face or illuminate the floor of the scene by not having it be a white backdrop. So this is gonna throw some red into my background. It's gonna go onto this fashion gray, and it's gonna saturate quite nicely. Now the third and final light that I'm going to bring into the fold is going to be the newer FS300C, so the little brother or little sister to the CB300C. And just like the CB, it's going to have a reflector on it. And this is gonna be throwing kind of like a yellow tone into the background, just so we can get a nice smooth gradient where it goes from like red to orange. And one of the reasons why I really love using constant lights is because of the customization I can get very quickly. I don't have to go through a bunch of different gels, you know, untape it, tape it, and I'm able to just kind of key in exactly which gradient I want. Now, a couple things to note. You are going to want to turn off the lights in your studio or try to black it out as much as possible, because as we all know, the white light or the sunlight that comes through windows is going to slice right through our RGB lights because they are not using the full 300 watts when we are trying to saturate these backgrounds. That's gonna be the 3-light setup that we're gonna roll with. So let's get some test shots here and really see how versatile this setup can be. So now I just wanna do a few test shots where we only have the background lights on, just so you can see kind of what it is that you're looking for when you have your model standing on the backdrop. So one of the things that I did was I had Madi keep moving forward, and it's gonna be very hard for this camera to focus, which is fine. I had Madi move very far forward just so that when we take this picture, she's in a pretty good silhouette, right? You're not really gonna see any features on her face, and I don't really want my background lights to edge her too much, right? They will edge her a little bit, but I do not want them to edge her too much. So this is what the background light should be doing. You will just wanna move your subject up far enough to where you are able to kind of get them fully silhouetted, and then your key light is gonna do the work from there. All right, so now we have all three lights on. You can see the key light is illuminating Mari's face, and then we have our background lights that are doing their thing. Like I said, really notice what that shadow is doing from the Fresnel lens. I have it stopped all the way down to 10 degrees, and I'm trying to throw her shadow as far off of this background as possible. So let's get a few test shots here. We're gonna start with some mediums. 3, 2, perfect. 3, 2, nice. 3, 2, yes. We'll come close for a few. You can keep the hands out of these. Yeah, 3, 2, yep. And then just give me some shape to the body. Yep, just like that, perfect. 3, 2, yep, nice. 2. All right, I'm gonna do a few wide shots just to illustrate kind of what's going on in the ground here. We do want to keep this nice and dark. 3, 2, nice. 3, 2. Yeah, let me get one more here. 3, 2. And a big thing to note is once we get in post, we can really darken down the bottom. And this is another reason why I used a gray backdrop. So now let's get a few profile shots to where you kind of turn this way. Nice. 3, 2, good. 3, 2, nice. Yep, bring eyes to me, good. 3, 2, get one more here, nice and close up. 3, 2. And I spoke to Madi beforehand, and she told me that she likes warmer tones, so that's why we kind of went with more of a almost all red background, but you can definitely make this a lot more moody by taking both of your RGB lights and making them drastically different colors. All right, everyone, that's gonna do it for another video. Showed you all how to two-tone the background with 2 different RGB lights. Every single light used in this setup was a 300 watt, so it wasn't anything too crazy. And if you have the ability to, cut the lights off in the studio so that way you get the maximum saturation and output from your lights, and you're not having to deal with anything ambient. Want to give a super huge shout out to Madi for coming through. Madi, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at bby.marii.
I've put it down here many times before, but I'm gonna do it again so that y'all can spell it correctly. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you all in the next video.